What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. We are going to be talking about NXT TakeOver Chicago 2018, all the things that happened during that card, all of our opinions about what happened on the card, and anything else we want to toss out there. We, for this edition, is, well, your host as always, Tony Mango, and your usual suspects as always, we've got Robert DeFelice.
Hello, I'm Robert DeFelice.
And we've got Callum Wiggins.
This is a pretty good show.
Yeah, if you checked out the predictions, I wasn't super duper amazingly thrilled about it. I thought that it was a little weak in some regards, and I'm happy to say that for the most part I was proven wrong. I love being proven wrong when I'm being pessimistic about something, because then it means that it's good, you know. Hate being proven wrong when I think something's going to be great, and then it sucks. Kingsman 2, and some other kind of things like that. But, yeah, overall, I like this quite a bit, so it's not going to be as much pessimism as the last time. Don't worry, everybody. And to be perfectly honest, one of the things that I was disappointed with going into the matches themselves and stuff that I thought was going to be a downside that ended up being a lot better was the first thing of the night, which was the NXT Tag Team Championship between the Undisputed Era, the champions, and their challengers, Oney, Lorcan, and Danny Burch. We're skipping over the pre-show because nothing fucking happened in it.
Pat McAfee happened, and I implore you all to go back and listen to him, but other than that...
He's better this time than he was the last time. I'll give him that.
Should we mention also before the first match that Mauro Ranallo wasn't on commentary tonight?
Yes.
Well, see, that's one of the things I was going to get to with, as far as, like, the negatives go, that really was one of the only negatives that I had. Vic Joseph is fine. Like, I don't dislike him, but he's very much like Tom Phillips and Michael Cole, where he can do the job, but he might not necessarily be like this energetic, enthusiastic, passionate kind of person like Mauro Ranallo is. Mauro kind of reminds me of Jim Ross. And when you don't have a Jim Ross or a Mauro Ranallo, which I don't think Mauro Ranallo is perfect or anything like that, it loses a little bit of that oomph. And I kind of feel like every match on this card would have been just a slight tick up better, if not a lot better, if we would have had his enthusiasm behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Vic Joseph was fine in his role. I think one benefit was that due to the fact that Vic Joseph was a little bit more muted, I think it gave Nigel McGuinness a chance to shine a little bit more. I know you're not a big fan of him, Tony, but I thought that he did really well tonight.
What don't you like about Nigel McGuinness, Tony?
I don't like his delivery for the most part. I kind of feel like he reminds me of old school Vince McMahon on commentary, where he's always perpetually pretending to be excited instead of actually excited, which I don't doubt that he actually is, but it's just something with his voice. What he's saying might be great, but it just comes off as like, well, and everything is great here, and I'm trying to say things in this kind of an excited, happy tone, and blah, blah. It's just kind of droning to me a little bit, you know?
Well, since we're on the commentators, it's been a year. What do you guys think of Percy Watson?
He hasn't gotten any better.
It wouldn't be any better or any worse without him, not being there.
Agreeable.
Yeah, I liked Percy when he was just like a weird character in NXT. Like, he was kind of fun. And when he got brought back, I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's good to give him another chance and stuff. Because I feel like if I got to know the guy, I would really like the guy. But I don't think commentary's good for him.
Definitely agree.
He's better than David Otunga. Like, I'll give him that, you know. And he can pull off his job better than some other people in the company can pull off their jobs. Like, I still do not like Kayla Braxton as the announcer for NXT at all. I think that she's really bad. But hey,
Sarah Schreiber made her debut on the pre-show.
She did?
Yeah, she was in the crowd with Mike Rome.
I must have totally skipped that. Totally didn't pay attention to that. She needs a different name though, just based off of the Sarah Schreiber thing. Like, she really should have gone by like whatever, I don't know, Sarah Ashley or whatever her middle name is or something like that. Like, I think that would have been potentially a little bit better, but Hey, next year she'll be eligible for the Sexy Superstars tournament. So, unless she gets fired. And then that's not going to be good. But hey, quick little nod to that. That preliminary round is up, everybody. So if you want to vote on the qualifiers and you watched NXT tonight, then you've got a better indicator of at least a couple of the talent. Don't vote against Vanessa Bourne. Boo. Anyway. NXT Tag Team Championship was the first match of the night. As I mentioned, Oney, Lorcan, and Danny Burch going in as the challengers, and that was one of the things that I had an issue with going into our predictions, because I said, I don't really buy them being challengers, and I still think that applied here. There, at no point in the match was there a spot where I was like, oh, they might actually win those titles. But it was still a really fun, good match, so, I'm not going to take, like, a good thing and say, well, it wasn't perfect, so it sucks, because I hate that kind of mentality. So I liked it. I liked it more than I thought I was going to. Thumbs up as far as I'm concerned.
I liked it a little bit more than I thought I was going to, and I really went into it with high hopes. That spot where they had them both in the submissions, and O'Reilly gets out of it by rolling in the submission he was in and kicking Lorcan in the face. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it was cool. I like that.
I can't recall a match off the top of my head that had so many like oohs and ahs from the crowd going through everything that connected just seemed to elicit a guttural response from the crowd, which is just exactly what you want to see, especially in a match where you might think that the challengers don't really have too much of a chance. The crowd was getting into everything that was happening. Obviously, the Undisputed Era have a bit more of a charisma about them, so they were getting probably cheered a lot more than you would expect, considering the fact they're meant to be the heels in this match. But both sides were popular with the crowd, especially by the end of the match. I don't know where this exactly ranks in my favourite tag team match of all time, but it's creeping towards the top. I might have to just rewatch it again, because this is a new standard for tag team wrestling for me. Like, maybe not the greatest tag team match I've ever seen, but definitely hits my top 10 for sure.
And I will tell you that I love Red Dragon. I'm sad Bobby Fish is on the injured reserve, but Roderick Strong, man. Oh my God, he picked up that ball and ran. And he added another layer of intensity and smoothness and crispness, and just everything that happened in that match was so good from a technical standpoint. And then once the audience really got a flavor for who Lorcan and Burch were, and they were feeling it, that match was really good.
I think that's a good way to describe this as crisp, because they really did all seem like they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and whether it was like a chop or a kick, everything pretty much landed the way that it was supposed to. And I don't know about like necessarily Ring of Honor style versus such and such style and stuff like that, because I haven't seen too many Ring of Honor matches, but this to me strikes me as like the top caliber type of Ring of Honor matches. It's certainly not a WWE standard match, and that's good. You know what I mean?
I would say definitely that before the main event, this was my favourite match of the night. I know the next match will like obviously balance out with different things, but for me personally, this is my favourite, because I've always been more of a mark for tag team wrestling. When it's done correctly, it just works better for me than any singles match.
I think there's an argument to be made about it at the very least. What do you think, Robert? Is this best match of the night, second best match of the night, that kind of thing?
Oh, Jesus Lord. There's only a 5-match card, and 3 were really, really good. So, I don't know. It's up there. I kind of feel like Callum in the vein that I love tag team wrestling, and tag team wrestling done right is almost untouchable. And this is the only example of that we will see this weekend. So this match might be my match of the night.
It's so weird that there's this track record of NXT where they do these takeover events, And at this point, it's not just a fluke. These tag team matches that they have are always so fucking good. Like, I really should have given them more credit ahead of time. I should have been like, you know what? Out of like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 whatever matches that they've been having over these past bunch of takeover matches and stuff, almost every single one of these tag team matches has been just like balls to the wall, start to finish, rock solid. So I'm surprised that Lorcan and Burch were able to do that, knowing so few people could really buy them as winning those tag titles. But at the same time, I really shouldn't have been too shocked about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's even when they had like tag teams like the Authors of Pain and Sanity, which weren't the most electrifying tag teams in terms of just bell-to-bell action, the matches have always been booked so well that you can just kind of lose yourself into it. So this may not have been the greatest match of the night, but it was the best these two teams could have put on. And when you put these two teams together, the best that they can put on is one of the best matches that you can see all night. And you know that a match has done its job well when the losing team is getting a standing ovation at the end of it.
Yeah, what did you think about that? Because that is normally reserved for people that are going to be leaving NXT.
I think that's a sign that this isn't the last we're going to see of Lorcan and Burch challenging for the tag team championships.
My gut reaction was, I wonder if they're just coming up to the main roster, because I'm pretty sure both of them could apply to 205 Live. I'm not 100% sure. Let me double check that real quick. But
I mean, I wouldn't want to. I know they probably could both apply to 205 Live, but when your tag team division is like on life support, why wouldn't you just put more good tag teams in there?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to wrestle for that just if you're under the 205 limit. Danny Burch is 190 pounds, according to my notes, and Oney Lorcan is 190 pounds. They're both 190, yeah. We haven't seen any real, like, forthcomingness when it comes to that proposed Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship, thankfully, because I think it's a mistake if they do. And we've seen, like, one of the tag teams actually split up since then. So I don't think that that's, like, some kind of a guarantee that Lorcan and Burch would go to 205 Live, because there isn't a tag team title right now for them. But I wouldn't be too shocked if they were to do that. And if they go to Raw or SmackDown, I would be a little bit shocked, because I don't think that there was room for them right now. We have a couple other people that still haven't been brought into the mix all that well. But if they just stick around in NXT, and this was just a means to be like, hey, look, pay attention to them instead of looking at them as jobbers, this match did a good job of establishing that. I buy into them a lot more.
Exactly what I think it was. And I think that Lorcan and Burch may never see the main roster, and there's nothing wrong with that because they're better suited for NXT. However, I hope that we see just a little bit more of them in the Undisputed Era, because I'd rather see the Undisputed Era fight people who are of their style and not the War Raiders.
Yeah, I don't know where this tag team division's going soon, because War Raiders definitely look like they're being pumped up, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the next tapings are coming up in a couple days, so we'll know in a couple days, at least a little bit more. Any other thoughts you guys have on this? Undisputed Era retain, and
I love the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole is the North American champion. I'm sad we didn't see more of him. I hope that he gets bumped up to the world title soon enough.
I mean, you know how popular the Undisputed Era are when Adam Cole blatantly cheats to make sure that his team wins it, and then when he gets ejected by the referee for clearly cheating, the crowd are chanting bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Undisputed Era were I don't know, maybe the second most over baby faces of the crowd, and even though they were not.
It's Chicago. It's a huge ROH stronghold, and no pun intended, and they really got the love from the crowd tonight, and I love them. I wish that NXT had done more with them to start with, but yeah, nothing but praise all around for this match.
Thumbs up indeed. And thumbs up continue, because we had Ricochet versus Velveteen Dream after this, and you have a feud where it's about one-upping each other, where one guy is flipping around better than other people can in the entire company, and the other guy is just doing random stuff, and it all fucking works, oddly enough. And they did it. Like, they did exactly what they went out there to do. From start to finish, I thought that this was great. You know, you have the Velveteen Dream go out there dressed up like Hulk Hogan, kind of, and I was like, okay, did not expect this, but let's see where this is going from here. And I laughed quite a bit at that. What do you guys think about that whole get up?
I love that he came out. It wasn't completely Hogan. He traded in the red for a shade of orange. But, man, he did the whole shtick. And he ripped the shirt, did the hand to the ear. And then after the whole Hogan shtick, as he's watching Ricochet make his entrance, he's laying on the Spanish announce table. I love the Velveteen Dream. He's next level in terms of character. And I almost want to say we don't deserve that kind of dedication to character in 2018.
With the Hogan thing, it was like, I didn't expect it because Hogan is still such a contentious figure in WWE at the moment. I mean, he's still not even listed on WWE.com anywhere, so you get a sense of this was pushing it a little bit. And
are you kidding? Really?
Well, I think he's taken off the like alumni section and stuff like that. I don't even know if he's even listed in the Hall of Fame or whatever. That's what I've heard anyway, but I haven't checked to verify that, so don't hold me to that. But you get the sense that this was playing into Dream's character as being quite controversial, that he's bringing like one of the controversial figures in wrestling at the moment and putting him into the spotlight. But I also thought that there's always been comparisons between Ricochet and The Rock as well, where Ricochet has always tried to show a lot of mannerisms like The Rock. So I kind of thought, okay, are they going to do some really acrobatic version of the Rock versus Hogan match from WrestleMania 18?
That's what I thought as well. And I even said that in our group chat. I was like, they're going to just do Rock and Hogan, but smaller.
But thankfully it was far, far better than that.
Well, for reference, if you do a search for Hulk Hogan, it does not do an automatic, like, predictive text. So they act like they don't want you to search for Hulk Hogan. And if you do a search, the first things that pop up under relevance are TakeOver Chicago 2 results, TakeOver Chicago 2, UK tournament results, SmackDown Live from June 12th. So essentially, they don't want you searching for
And
Hogan.
Also, if you do bother to check and you go in the Hall of Fame section, Hulk Hogan is not there. So, yeah. But Trump is, though. So there's that.
It's just a nice little touch that they did that whole thing. I don't quite see the Rock and Ricochet stuff as much, but if that's a thing that multiple people see, then I'm just being oblivious to it. And that's funny that they did a little Rock and Hogan thing too, you know? If I would have picked, I would have maybe been like, hey, why don't you dress up as like Brutus Beefcake or like that? But just make it even sillier. I did like that, the little touch though. That was already at the beginning of this, when the entrances were happening, I was already like, all right, I'm having fun. And then the match starts. And damn, they really knew how to just do everything with such precision. And I mean, I can't remember too many times where somebody will hit like a DDT, and I'll bring this up later on, where a DDT will be like, oh, this could end the match, you know? And there was a little reversal that went into a DDT during this that I thought was great. And multiple spots. I mean, the vertical suplex off the apron, like, ow.
Yeah, very painful.
The rolling Death Valley bomb from the ropes, that was neat. Pretty much for the most part, any time that they were doing anything, I was just having fun. Like, I have nothing bad to say about this match.
No, yeah, I don't have anything bad to say either.
What else can you say, really? It was fantastic, and they really hammered home the whole anything you can do, I can do better, with the finish where Ricochet went for a shooting star, the Dream got his knees up, and then as Ricochet was laying halfway across the ring, the Velveteen Dream went for the Purple Rainmaker, and Ricochet rolled out of the way because that's not the Velveteen Dream's forte, to jump that far at least. and that led to the 6:30 and the end of the match. But it was so good.
Yeah, this was. Oh, go ahead, Cal.
I was gonna say I love the little details in where Dream was trying to steal Ricochet's moves.
Yeah,
like the falling senton off the top, and then like the dive to the outside. But it was always a slightly shit version of what Ricochet stuff was doing, because it was a case of Velveteen Dream trying to say that he could do it better, but Ricochet can actually do it better. But it's a nice touch,
the head scissors.
Yeah, it's like Dream is great, but he like molds himself to the idea of being a better wrestler than Ricochet, and that anything Ricochet can do, he can do better, but he can't actually prove it in the ring. His character more than makes up for that, but the stuff that he was doing to be Ricochet wasn't bad enough to be unsafe, but was bad enough that Ricochet stuff stands out as significantly better than his.
And you know what? I'll give Ricochet credit. He put the Dream's moveset over by copying the Velveteen Dreams moveset by doing the Purple Rainmaker and the Rolling Death Valley Bomb and those types of moves. They really elevated each other's game, I think.
Yeah, both of these guys, even though it's about one-upping each other, come out looking great. And that's the same thing that keeps happening with Velveteen Dream's matches. He leaves looking better than what he did before, even if he loses. And the other person, whether they lose or they win, look better. And this dude's 22. It's like, how many fucking titles can this guy win? Like, he needs to win so many. He needs to, because this dude is so good. And already, I feel like, even though he's a relative rookie to all this, compared to a lot of other people, this dude should be training people that are twice his age, you know? Go out there and be like, this is how you work, to the people that are on the main roster. Which is insane.
Well, I think his age speaks to why he's putting such an emphasis on his character. He's really taking from what he liked to watch, I believe. And you know, he didn't have to go through the indies, and he didn't have to jump through 20 tables just to get a crowd reaction. So he doesn't need to go through that learning curve in his career. He can go straight to the character building and working the WWE style and get some of the in-ring prowess later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he strikes me as the type of guy that, with his dedication that we had seen, even in Tough Enough, like, he was easily the standout for Tough Enough for me. I was just like, why isn't this guy winning in, like, week 2, kind of? His youth and his dedication and the way that he's able to pull off so many things. Because if you would have told me back when Tough Enough happened and they eliminated Patrick Clark, oh, he'll be back, then I was like, all right, yeah, he should. But if you were to say he'll be back and he'll be playing the Velveteen Dream, I'd be like, what? They're going to kill him. Like, he can't play that character. Well, he pulls off the in-ring stuff. He pulls off the character stuff. And he strikes me as the type of guy that he's probably just talented enough and a hard worker enough that in any other job, if he would have done it, he probably would have excelled. Like, if he was like, I'm really interested in being like, I don't know, an accountant, he'd be like, oh, that's a damn good accountant that I want on my team. You know what I mean? Like, I really hope that they have the same outlook for him. And they probably do, because even John Cena was recently saying, like, he was one of the standouts and stuff. And
he was saying that's the person he wants to work.
For what it's worth, it's like, that's not ignoring Ricochet either. Ricochet comes in with a lot of hype. And a lot of times when people hype those guys up, and I'm not too familiar with them, after a little while, I'm sitting there going, what's so great about, like Sin Cara when he first came in? Mystico. It was like, okay. You know, like, he could be kind of fun. Maybe he'll be the next Rey Mysterio, but maybe not. And some other people, you know, they come in and I'm like, all right, they're fine, or I don't know about too much about them. And Ricochet, since he started in NXT, I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, he's good. He's fun to watch. I enjoy him. Give that guy the North American title soon. You know? So again, all positives.
Yeah. Super positive so far.
We took a little bit of a dip, I think, with the next thing. Not as much of a dip as we would take a little bit later on, too, but Shayna Baszler versus Nikki Cross for the NXT Women's Championship didn't quite match up to the two that came before it. You guys agree?
Well, yeah, in ring wise.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's hard to.
They weren't going to. They were there to be the proverbial.
The proverbial what?
The cigarette break, like some people after they're done fucking, they
No,
smoke.
you cut out, so it was the proverbial blank.
I thought, I was like, do they not get it?
For what it's worth, though, too, when it comes to that, saying that it was a step down, it was still a step up from what I was assuming that it would be. It was still pretty decent. I liked the story that they were telling. Nikki Cross came off like the character that she should have. Shayna Baszler wins, and she, of course, should have won. So her finisher gets a little bit more steam behind it now that it's made Nikki Cross pass out. But Nikki Cross doesn't look all that bad, I didn't dislike this. Ended up giving it a highlight.
No, thumbs up, because they went out there to tell a simple story, and the story was told. Shayna showed a little bit more apprehension than she has. Nikki, who was really over tonight, by the way, showed that she does thrive in chaos and mind games, and even, passing out from the pain of the rear naked choke, but doing it with a smile on her face. Really established the whole story perfectly.
Yeah, this match was a great example of like exceptional character work especially from Nikki Cross's side of things. Shayna did her job very well. She continued to brutalize and continued to be like the dominant heel. Crowd definitely were against her, which is good to see, because obviously what we saw in previous matches where if Velveteen Dream is the heel or Undisputed Era is the heel, they're still getting cheered. So they're still doing their job well, but they're not really getting booed as they should be, whereas Shayna Baszler doesn't do anything to get herself over with the crowd. She just goes out there and dominates, as she should. Nikki Cross got a lot of crowd support. She looked fiery in her comeback. She came close to winning with like getting the foot on the rope as well after the neck breaker off the top rope. But yeah, and then she passes out instead of having to tap out, which is the sign of a badass, that she doesn't need to tap out to a submission hold. She reminds me a lot of like a female Mick Foley.
Yeah, I can see that.
Perfect.
And I'm hoping that this is the signal for her to come up with sanity to the main roster.
Me too, because I think I know why they might not. I think they realized that doing the 3 guys, 1 woman, when you can't do a lot of intergender stuff, so you would forcibly have to have a lot of makeshift mixed tags. I think that's why they're not doing it, but they really should, because she really completes the sanity package.
And I'm just going to say that like either Raw or SmackDown's women's division, obviously she go to SmackDown as part of sanity, but either division could use somebody with her character or somebody who just has a character. She's so like brazen and bold in the sense that she's embraced the chaotic, crazy, feel no pain, like life or death approach that a lot of the other women are just, wrestlers. She's a character.
Yeah. I think SmackDown probably suits her a little bit better because of Ronda Rousey being on Raw. And if those two crossed paths, I think it would be a little bit strange. Even though it's weird that like Shayna Baszler just fought her, but it's a different dynamic because Baszler's a heel. But now that that's out of the way and we don't need Nikki Cross to be in NXT anymore, I think that she probably will come up with Sanity, because it's not like Sanity's done anything else, It's nothing getting in the way of being like, all right, well, we brought Sanity up to the main roster, but without Nikki Cross, and that means now people would get confused if Nikki Cross pops up. Sanity's just had backstage vignettes, and that's it. So nobody's going to remember that crap. Nobody's going to care either. Anybody who would remember that Sanity would be popping up are people that follow NXT, and they want Nikki Cross to be up anyway. So you're just going to have a win-win situation, I think. And I wouldn't be too shocked if we see Sanity pop up like Maybe not this coming Tuesday, but maybe the Tuesday after that or so. Nikki Cross with him. And Baszler, I think it's a definite at this point that she moves on to Kairi Sane.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Candice, but I don't think they'll be making that jump just yet.
Yeah, Kairi's in the crowd watching, so she makes the most logical sense as the next challenger.
And Kairi beat Lacey.
Mm-hmm.
So that's out of the mix. Like, she doesn't have that anymore. Candice can start some kind of a feud with Bianca Belair or Vanessa Bourne or... even with...
You know what, though? They're running vignettes on Belair. Maybe it's Belair.
Against Baszler?
You never know.
I don't think they go for the... I just personally don't think they go heel versus heel.
That's the thing, yeah. Somebody was asking in the heel and face turn post on smark@moment.com, of course, naturally, that they were thinking that Belair was like, oh, did she just turn heel? And I was like, no, she's always been a heel. So there's at least some people out there that are kind of like debating whether or not Bianca Belair has been a heel or is turning face or was a face and is turning heel now and all that. In my mind, she's always been a heel and she still is. So I don't really necessarily see that. But if that were to change or something like that, then they could definitely go with Belair against Baszler. Right now, in my mind, she's a heel, and heel doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So thinking Kairi Sane makes a lot more sense. And a couple days from now, when they do the takeover tapings, not the takeover tapings, the NXT tapings. I keep saying takings. I'm sure we'll get at least like midway through, Shayna Baszler will have some kind of interaction with somebody, and we'll kind of get to know a little bit more about that. But August is when we get the next takeover, so they might do what they did this time around, where they might do like 2 sets of tapings, and if we don't get a full answer by the end of this set of tapings, I wouldn't be too shocked in the world. Dakota Kai was the one fighting Shayna Baszler throughout the first half of this. And then it went over to Nikki Cross, and it still ended up being mostly Dakota Kai. So, I don't know. Keep your eyes on Kairi Sane, I think, more than anybody else. And I don't know what they're going to do necessarily as far as how they're going to transition to a new NXT Championship feud. Aleister Black retaining against Lars Sullivan here. I would think that maybe EC3 would be in the mix. I would think maybe Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. There's at least a little bit of variety, but we were talking about how it was a little bit of a downslope to get to the Cross and Baszler match. I think it was much more of a downslope to get to this one.
But before we talk about this match, I just want to point out Keith Lee was in the crowd before this match. They showed him in the crowd. They announced him as a former WWN champion, and so we know that he's probably going to be popping up at this set of tapings as well. And
or at least sometime soon.
This match was... I liked it. Not as much as anything else on the card. This was definitely the lowest point for me. But I did like it. And I like Lars Sullivan. He reminds me of, and I think you guys will agree with this, Vader, but without the mask. Vader in his prime without the mask.
I think Vader was a lot better. I don't dislike Sullivan. Don't take that way. Like, Sullivan showed me more in this match than he's shown me in any other match. So that's a positive for Sullivan. I think that this is more of a negative for Black to me.
Yeah, I'm not feeling Black as champion. I don't know if it's because every single, whatever he's done so far hasn't been seen as like top of the card because of the great Tommaso and Johnny feud. But Black really hasn't been impressing me as champion. I think he's probably better in the chase than as champion.
Do you guys agree or disagree with this idea? I put this up in one of my reviews. There's only so many times that you can watch Aleister Black kick somebody before you go. I wonder if he's going to kick him next. Like, that's really all he does.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see what the problem is of somebody playing to their strengths. like, oh, why doesn't he use a suplex instead? Well, because he kicks people and he usually beats people. So that's kind of it's. I don't want to see loads of people doing the same moves, and it's fine to have one person who's essentially using what he's a fairly well established kickboxing background in order to essentially use kicks most of the time to beat his opponents because it works.
My issue with it is the redundancy gets a little boring. Like Hideo Itami does a lot of kicks too, and again, it's his style, so it makes sense. But German suplexes from Brock Lesnar get boring after a while. And when it was like pretty much every little sequence of this was Aleister Black kicks him, and then he kicks him, and then he kicks him, and then he kicks him, and then Lars Sullivan overpowers him, and then you rinse and repeat, kind of. So I was just sort of like, all right, can we just like skip forward to where they do this 7 more times and then we have the end of it, instead of like, man, I don't know what's going to happen next, like that with the Gargano Ciampa match or something. It just, the redundancy kind of got to me. And
my fear with Black is he's got to lose eventually. And I don't want it to be an Asuka deal where they wait till he's on the main roster and they build him up like this machine and then he loses and then it kind of doesn't matter. You know?
I don't think that's going to be the case because he already technically has lost to Gargano. And I really lean more towards EC3 being the one to take the title more than anything else. But then again, I didn't think that Lars Sullivan was going to be fighting him here. I thought Lars Sullivan was going to be the one that took the title. So I might be completely wrong on that. I could see EC3 potentially winning the title at the next pay-per-view even. At this point, it's weird for me to say that because Aleister Black hasn't had a long title reign, yet it strikes me as like maybe he doesn't have the longest one. Maybe it doesn't go as long as I thought it would.
No, it doesn't need to. I mean, I probably enjoyed this match more than you did, and I'm going to say that it probably was on the lower end of the scale of things tonight, but that's just the standard that takeovers usually set anyway. But I thought Lars was very good in this match. He played the rock. They played the story of him being so hard to break down, and even some of Black's most powerful offense couldn't take Lars down the way that it would do anybody else. The fact that he had to hit 2 Black masses at the end to defeat him when Lars was bleeding in the mouth. Obviously, there is the one big, like, glaring error in this match in the fact that Black went for a Black mass, completely missed, and Lars sold it, which is
well, he
just
didn't sell it
bad.
at first. He like waited 5 seconds and then he said, "Oh shit, I think I was supposed to be hit. Okay, I'll go down."
I tried rewatching that to try and figure out what exactly went wrong there. And I don't know whether it was Black went too early with the kick or Lars had pushed himself too far out, really. Just that you could tell that Lars was supposed to turn around or Lars was supposed to be closer and get hit in the back of the head by Black's kick, and they were just far too far apart.
Yeah, it just didn't line up. And that's kind of the way I felt about a lot of this match. Like something was missing and they could have potentially had better chemistry together, but there was something that was off about their synergy. And that signified the problem with it. That one move right there was just kind of like, you lost him. Like a little bit of a struggle here and there. Okay. You miss a move like that. And then you go, all right, something clearly is off. And the crowd did not like that at all, booing and everything like that. Which I don't blame them. I mean, you can't like shit on these people too much because it's like, well, like mistakes happen and stuff. But
I'd say you can't blame the crowd for that. That's fine. Like if the crowd was a chart, you fucked up after that thing. They're well within their rights because they did fuck up. But I'm just going back to earlier for like the Baszler Nikki Cross match. I had to mute the crowd, like just mute the entire thing for a while because there was a beach ball going on in the crowd, which like
that just comes off disrespectful to me.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if it's in a WWE show and it's like a shitty show at that point or whatever, if it would happen during Backlash or whatever, I'd just like, oh, fair enough, this show's shit anyway, so you might as well try and entertain yourself. But they're actually putting on good shows, and takeovers have been putting on great shows for ages, and people still bringing beach balls in. It's like you don't deserve this sort of thing. You don't deserve these matches.
I think they did that because it was the women.
Yeah, which is
a shitty thing to say, but probably accurate.
That's the thing, is that's not an endorsement for it. I think that just proves that there's still people out there that, whether it could be a good match or a bad match, I mean, and I think that everybody universally can pretty much agree, the women's division in these past, 3 years has been just an entirely different league than what it used to be. It used to be any women's match on any card was immediately the bathroom break, because you knew, guaranteed 100%, it would be the most awful match of the night, because it never wouldn't be, And now it's like, even though I didn't think Baszler and Nikki Cross was going to be all that great, we've got a track record enough of so many different matches. Give them the chance to be good or bad. Don't just go into it and be like, oh, it's the women, let's take out the beach ball, because it's like, oh, come on, dude, don't be fucking sexist about that. Assuming it is a guy that was doing it. I mean, it could have been a woman that was starting the whole beach ball thing. You never know.
Well, it's also that whole, hey, it's Chicago, and we have to be, super
Ruckus.
smarky. Yeah, we have to try and put ourselves over, which is why I hate Chicago, New York, and wherever they are after Mania, because the crowd, no matter what's happening, I mean this, Okada and Omega could be in front of them and they'd still try to find a way to put themselves over. You know what I mean?
They'd
I
be
hate that.
USA, USA.
Yeah.
I just think that the beach ball could have been used for the pre-show. Have some fun before everything gets started.
Yeah, we'll do it afterwards. After everybody's been so excited about the entire show, just throw beach balls around or whatever.
Just fine. Multiple beach balls, just start chucking them.
Yeah, just throw them into the ring or whatever. That's fine afterwards. As long as I've seen the entire show and I've not had you interrupt it, then I'm perfectly fine. Now,
if it is a really bad show, like you had mentioned, then by all means, let the beach balls go.
Yeah.
Potentially, maybe what tomorrow will end up being. I don't know.
So if Kevin Owens is climbing the ladder and a beach ball just gets spiked into the ring.
As much as I would hate the fact that it would potentially stop Kevin Owens, one of my favorite guys, from winning, I would think that would be very easily, very quickly on my list of best moments of the whole year. Because I actually wrote down last year when it had happened with Cesaro when the beach ball, I had that down as one of my favorite moments of the year. I thought that was fucking great.
Well, yeah, at least Cesaro went into the crowd, took the fucking beach ball, and popped it or whatever.
Yeah, that was sweet. If the beach ball would have happened during Lars Sullivan and Aleister Black, I don't think I would have been as annoyed about it, because it wasn't selling me, and definitely my least favorite match of the night. Not horrible, not the worst thing in the world or anything like that, but it was a little rough.
Well, I'll say for this match that I didn't feel during the women's match. I thought there were a few spots in there where I thought, hey, maybe Black is losing this thing now. Like when Lars got him in the stretch muffler and he had already had that knee injury, Aleister, I thought, maybe Black kind of passes out from the pain, or maybe Lars hits a freak accident, and after that wicked pop-up power slam on the apron, I thought maybe he'll roll him in and hit the freak accident for the win. But no, Aleister won as he rightfully should have, and now we have to figure out who's next, which I think it'll be EC3, because even in the pre-show, they were really trying to put EC3 over as the next big thing.
I hope if that's the case that they give him the title.
I'm sure they will. But it seems like it'll be a rerun of Rude's championship reign, who was like, I'm high class, I'm better than this NXT nonsense kind of gimmick.
I think EC3 is different enough in the case that Bobby Roode was kind of more of the classy, I'm a different class thing, whereas EC3 is more of a douche character.
He's pompous in a different way. Instead of going out there being like, I'm going to bring class and dignity to this title, he's going to be like, look at me, I've got your title. Nah. Like that kind of thing. I beat you, Aleister Black, Mr. Black, that kind of thing. I love EC3, he's great. So Black and Sullivan, yeah, we got that out of the way for the most part. Any other last thoughts about that?
No, it's just a good
underwhelming.
match.
In a word, underwhelming.
Yeah. But thankfully, the main event of the night, street fight between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, kicked such serious ass. And this is now on my list as potential match of the year, which is alongside Gargano Ciampa and Gargano Almas. And, it's just a matter of trying to pick at this point. It's like, all right, Gargano equals match of the year, essentially. Like, this dude's just banging on all cylinders. And Ciampa is playing his part fucking perfectly, and little details are great about this stuff too. Like, I mean, I go on rants constantly about how I hate how WWE has 300 names for the same type of match. But if you're going to call it a street fight, having them wrestle in the ring, not in the ring clothes, is such a good little thing that they very rarely ever do. So I'm glad that they did that. I love the little part with the fan in the crowd that said use this sign, and inside was a stop sign. That was a really neat little touch. The wedding ring spot, cool that you do that. Just another little, sticking a knife in the wound kind of thing. Wait, that's not the phrase. Sticking a knife in the wound. What is the phrase?
Rubbing salt in the wounds.
Rubbing salt. Isn't there something about a knife?
Yeah, knife
twisting
in the back.
The knife.
Yeah, twisting the knife in the back.
Twisting the salt knife in the wound back. There you go. Yeah, they would have done it at this match because they did pretty much everything else. And I absolutely love that they incorporated the whole canvas spot. That's, to me, like one of my favorite things that has happened this year.
Vic Joseph had an interesting call here where he said, I've known both of these men for years, and I consider them both to be some of my best friends, but Johnny especially, it hurts me to see what he's become, which made me just wonder for a second who Vic Joseph is and where he got his start. But this was a match where, man, if Mauro Ranallo was calling it, it would have come off that much more intense.
Yeah, definitely.
My favorite spot, and this starts at the very beginning, by the way, where Johnny is walking backstage, and I knew he was going to run into Candice, but Candice comes up with the crutch from the first match and says, kick his ass. And, Johnny walks to the ring in his Captain America inspired gear. Tommaso comes out to a chorus of boos, which is basically his theme song at this point. And he had his own crutch, and they just went right at it. Right into the crowd. Nigel McGuinness took a bump because I think Gargano threw Ciampa over the announce table. That was cool. But my favorite spot of this match was the wedding ring. He took it off. He spit on it. He threw it out in the crowd. There are just so many good moments of emotion, and that's what every other rivalry in the WWE system is missing. Emotion and story. And Gargano, man, if you look at, and tell me agree or disagree, if you look at Omega as the pillar of NJPW, Rollins is the pillar of Raw, Styles is the pillar of SmackDown, you cannot deny Johnny Gargano is holding up the pillar of NXT right now.
No denial. He definitely is.
I love this match, and I'll let you guys talk more about how we got to the finish.
Well, I will interject with one little thing, that a missed opportunity. You have Johnny Gargano dressed up as Captain America there, and you've got Candice LeRae pops up and says, kick his ass. You want to go better reference route. He really should have been dressed up as the Dumb and Dumber character, and she should have said, kick his ass, Seabass. That really would have been just a little extra nod of me being like, oh my god, this is amazing, and now I need to watch Dumb and Dumber again. One of my top 5 favorite comedies. Anyway, Callum, go ahead.
Okay, moving on from that then. This match is some of the most logic-driven chaos I've ever seen in a wrestling match. because every single spot was utterly dangerous and utterly terrifying, but made so much sense when you're watching it. Like the idea of Tommaso Ciampa wrapping the chair around Gargano's neck and driving into the steel steps. The Gargano's noticing that Ciampa was grabbing his leg because of the brace and just essentially just beating it to death with a steel chair. Them walking up the ramp in the same way that they kind of exited from the their last tag team match together, just like Ciampa holding him up and doing the exact same thing, essentially setting him up for the same thing, but Gargano turning the tables and hitting what's essentially a Celtic cross off the top through those tables, which was like, I don't know how much give those tables gave them because they just seemed to just drop out 10 feet to the floor, which is just like crazy. Yeah. And then Gargano, it's the perfect like way to get towards the ending is that Gargano had the match won because they were going to take Ciampa away and probably just call the match there. But Gargano wasn't done because he wasn't going to be satisfied until Ciampa was just would never come back again. So he takes him back to the ring, pushes the referee over, which is a great like point to put out because he takes Ciampa back in the ring and forces him to tap out twice to Gargano escape. Other people start to drag him away, so Gargano's having to fight all of these people as well as try and put more of a beating onto Ciampa. And then as soon as the referee gets back, Gargano gets onto the ring apron. Ciampa grabs him, DDTs him onto the canvas.
Handcuffed, by the way. He's handcuffed as he's doing this.
Yeah. And then like crawls onto Gargano and gets the pin. It was Gargano's own like lust for revenge and the fact that he'd turn into the violent killer that he said he would to beat Ciampa actually led to him losing the match to Ciampa, which I think just gives the impression that this rivalry is far from over.
And at the same time, it's like, where do they go from here? You know?
I'm firm in my belief now that it's got to be an I Quit match in Brooklyn. It's got to be one of them actually saying the words I quit.
It could be that. I would also say that NXT has not seen a Hell in a Cell match yet.
Man, and that's exactly why Hell in a Cell should not be a fucking pay-per-view.
But in NXT it's not. So it doesn't.
Right, but I mean, like, imagine if we didn't have Hell in a Cell over the past, like, I don't know, when's the last feud that we've had that actually would have been worthy of a Hell in a Cell?
Trying to think. Probably something along the lines of maybe the Ambrose Rollins one would have.
Yeah, like Ambrose Rollins, I could see that being a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that might have just about covered it.
Maybe I would argue Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns.
We still might get that, don't worry.
That's like a stretch, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember, like, maybe when Owens and Zayn were, like, in the midst of their feud, maybe something like that. But nothing with this level of emotion.
Yeah, if we wouldn't have had, like, these bullshit random Hell in a Cell matches that are just for the sake of having it be October, and then they could pull that out and do this kind of thing, then, man, that would be so much better. Even though the fact that Hell in a Cell isn't what it used to be, it would still just, like, make it seem like it's got some kind of a purpose to it. And they've done an unsanctioned match, and they've done a street fight. So they do need to have at least one other kind of match. And the only other thing I can think of is maybe Aleister Black doesn't lose that title to EC3. Maybe we get Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black in a triple threat at Brooklyn, which I thought that could be a possibility, and then it would end up with Aleister Black retaining. But maybe he doesn't retain. And maybe it isn't Aleister Black versus EC3 for the title in Los Angeles. Maybe it's Ciampa wins the title. And it's Gargano versus Ciampa in Los Angeles. And the only reason why it's different and like the final part of the thing is because the championship is on the line. But I don't think that this needs to have the championship, so I don't think they're going that route.
Well, I really would like to see Callum's idea of a Hell in a Cell. This feud needs finality. Like, I thought about maybe they move on to Ciampa and Black, but no, I want to see this feud come to an end.
Yeah, I don't think they can really delay on this. It's gotten far too personal. This match, even though we thought it might be just like a step too far because like their match at, in New Orleans felt so much like a one and done. That's like Gargano gets his win, he banishes his demons of Champa, and then it carries on. This match has accelerated the rivalry as opposed to just like taking it too far. So now it needs to have another one-on-one match between these two, and there needs to be some sort of, I don't know whether it's a stipulation of a loser leaves town or something along those lines that just completely separates these two from each other.
Yeah, and they did the loser leaves town kind of thing already, so they would be retreading that if they just did just that. But they've retreaded things before, so it's not like that's like an impossibility either. It's just kind of tough to figure out by now, but as I mentioned before, we are going to get a next set of tapings pretty soon. So we should have at least a somewhat of an indicator, even if they don't necessarily spell it out 100%. And either way, we've gotten so many good matches and good segments and stuff between these two that whatever they decide, I'm sure it's going to be good.
You know what? I always talk about how Triple H is a huge fan of the NWA. One of the most violent matches I've ever seen from 80s NWA is Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard in a cage I Quit match. We might end up getting something like that, but this feud needs some type of violent finality. And I just feel bad for Aleister Black because that championship is so secondary to this feud right now.
Yeah, this is twice in a row that the championship hasn't been the main event.
And the only time it has been this year is when Gargano was fighting for it.
It's, I don't know whether it's too much for slight on Black or whatever. It's just this case of Black is a very credible champion. Just a case that he's holding the belt at a time where NXT is telling its most like epic story that it's ever told, which has been stretching now for like well over a year. Well, actually a year at this point, but even further than that, if you think about the time it took to build Champa and Gargano as one the most likable tag team.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been like a 2-3 year arc at this point. So I think whoever would be NXT champion right now, if the belt wasn't being traded by these two, it would be secondary.
Yeah, I agree. Like if we didn't have that North American Championship and this was on Adam Cole, it would still be second.
Yeah.
Well, it becomes fantasy book real quick. The next Brooklyn show.
Super tough because the only thing I think that is a guarantee is Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. Everything else I think is so up in the air. The War Raiders really getting the chance for the titles yet? If not, then are they really going to put enough investment into Heavy Machinery or the Street Profits? I don't think so, necessarily. I like the Street Profits, and I like Otis Dozovic, at the very least. So, I don't know. Like, that seems a little bit weak to me. I think that the tag team title makes more sense if they incorporate the UK division a little bit, maybe, but they've already kind of done that, so that gets out of the way. It's tough.
I would say Undisputed Era, and they've never done this in NXT. I'll say a tag team fatal 4-way. TM61, the War Raiders, and the Street Profits. And then for the women's title, I'm going to say Kairi Sane, Shayna Baszler. They'll play up the fact that it's been a year since the Mae Young Classic kind of thing. Adam Cole versus Ricochet for the North American title.
Yeah.
EC3 versus Aleister Black. Maybe if we need a UK title match, And I thought about maybe incorporating this with something with Adam Cole, doing like a title for title. But why not Pete? I'll just throw it out there for my love for both these guys. Pete Dunne, Velveteen Dream. Why not? You know, it'll be a fun match on the card. And then main event being I Quit match, possibly some kind of a cage match. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa.
It's so difficult to predict at this point in time because we don't know who they're going to prioritize. But I'd say if I was to just spitball some ideas, I'd go Tag Team Championship. I'd just do Undisputed Era against the War Raiders because I think that's the direction they're going to go. Baszler against Sane, Cole versus Ricochet, Black versus EC3. If you have a UK Championship match, I think it would be Pete Dunne challenging the winner of the tournament because I think the winner of the tournament is winning the UK Championship from him. That's just me spitballing that out there. And then, you have the final match of the trilogy between Gargano and Champa.
And you know what? I'll throw this one out there if they don't want to throw in a UK title match. Keith Lee versus Lars Sullivan.
Undisputed Era versus DIY.
Well,
they suddenly just become friends again. I don't know. That's tough. Mostly because of that tag title situation to me. Because I think Cole and Ricochet make sense. I think EC3 and Aleister Black make sense. Gargano Ciampa 3 makes sense. Baszler and Kairi Sane. And then it's just a matter of that tag team title thing. And I really don't know what you go with other than War Raiders. And if you go with War Raiders, I think that they just win the titles. And I don't know if they really want to take those titles off of Undisputed Era yet. So I guess we're going to have to see about that one. Maybe we get something where the Undisputed Era actually don't defend the tag team titles. Maybe it's more along the lines of like Cole fights and that's where they're represented, you know? Could happen. Or maybe we finally get 6 matches on the card. Because they end at 10:30. They could always add another half an hour to it. But who knows? I don't know.
At least it was a great show, and it's always good to be able to come on here and talk positively about pro wrestling, you know?
Very much so, especially because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you want to know what we think of tomorrow's Money in the Bank, then the best thing that you should be doing here is you should be subscribing to the YouTube channel and ringing the bell for notifications. Because when we do the post show for that, we'll be, being able to give you notifications of that. I noticed that the Smark Out Moment Twitter account wasn't tweeting out correctly recently. So I had a couple of glitches with that. So if you've been following the Twitter account and you're kind of confused about why there were missing posts for about a month and why some posts came up with no link and just a picture, I think I've got it all sorted out. So you should follow Smark Out Moment not only on Twitter, but also on Facebook at Smark Out Moment. And same thing for Fanboys Anonymous. Same thing for all of us with all of our kind of projects and stuff like that. Twitter-wise for these guys, Robert?
To add Dude Felice, Twitter and Instagram. And Callum?
Yeah, at Wigmeister14 on Twitter, not on Instagram.
And also, make sure you leave your comments below and tell us what you thought of NXT TakeOver Chicago and anything that you agree or disagree with. And stay tuned for that Money in the Bank post show. Also, on top of that, next week, we're going to be doing the mailbag for June. So start sending in your questions if you haven't done that already, or at least start thinking of them and send them in as soon as you possibly can. We're either doing that Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not 100% certain yet, partially because we're also doing the preliminary round of the Sexiest Superstars tournament. So if you have not voted on that yet, you still have quite a bit of time. I wanted to make sure people got a lot of time to be able to do this because I'm asking for 14 eliminations for the women and 37 for the men. So I understand it's kind of difficult to do. That was posted on Friday, yesterday. So that means you've got at least a week, essentially. You know, we're going to break down a little bit of how this works on that podcast itself, and then the following week is when we're going to start round 1 and stuff. So that is the most immediate stuff to take care of on top of the hot tags, and we will see you when we see everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.